welcome back, beautiful souls. How are you today? So I feel like we stumbled on something so beautiful in the last video. I just want to keep moving on with that gorgeous energy that just came through. And that was the abundance that we are. And talking about spirit being in everything, being the inspiration for everything. That soccer player that decides when they're 5 years old, I'm going to start practicing with a soccer ball because one day I want to be a famous soccer ball player. Or the pianist, the little one at the age of 4, 5, 6 that decides they love piano and they can't stop playing it until they become a famous pianist. Or, the tennis player at the age of 6, 7 starts, hitting that ball, that one day they're going to be this famous tennis player. All of them, all of that starts with inspiration. Inspiration. In spirit. Spirit is guiding them. They're following their soul. They're following their dream. Every single one of us has a dream of what we want to do as grown-ups, what we want to be when we grow up. All of us. I remember from little, my dream was always that I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be an author because I loved books so much. I loved reading so much. And the journeys these beautiful books would take me on, I wanted to have that effect on people when I grew up. But somehow I knew the books I was reading, they weren't going to be the types of books I would be writing. Somehow I knew there was something, I'd be doing something different, but still writing, And my dreams come true. I've got the 7th book waiting to be published, but 6 books are published. They're sitting in Amazon, Barnes and Noble, they're all out there, for people to find them, to read them, if it's for them. But as a little one, I was always inspired that one day I would be an author. I wanted to write books. I had the inspiration in spirit. As a little one, I already knew. I didn't know what I was going to write, what it was going to be about. But I knew, just as those books affected me when I read them, and my imagination would just go into these wonderful places, these incredible places, that one day I would be given these beautiful books to share with the world, and the same would happen. The courses, the same thing. I just followed inspiration. I no longer see it as these incredible downloads that come from outside of me, because I kept seeing them that way, because there was the belief that somehow if it came from outside of me, from spirit, it wasn't from me, it was more valuable. It was more valuable is the words that keep coming back. It had value because it was from spirit. It was coming from out there through me. I don't see it that way anymore. I see the inspiration is already in here. It's already inside each of us. We are spirit creating in every moment. And we follow inspiration, or we use our free will to not follow inspiration. We can decide, you know what, I don't want to do that. I don't want to know where that goes. I'm not interested. I'm too afraid to follow that. But it's in here. It was never out there. I just kept seeing it out there because that's what we were taught as little ones, that God is out there somehow. Still seeing myself as separate from it until now. There is no separation. You are it. You are it. And however spirit is trying to manifest through you is perfect, just as it is. Each one of us has the voice that we have. Each one of us expresses ourselves the way that we do. No one else can express themselves the way you do. They don't use the same words. They don't have the same tone of voice. They don't have the same pace. We all speak differently. Have you ever found, no matter how famous someone is, I remember on Oprah, we had just finished reading the Conversation with God books with my cousin. And this guy showed up on Oprah with this book called Seat of the Soul. And I couldn't wait to go out and buy that book. And my cousin was the same. We're like, we've got to read this book. It's incredible. It's amazing, right? This guy, just the name of it, The Seat of the Soul. And I couldn't get through the first page. And I couldn't get through 5 minutes of listening to him. His pace, his tone of voice, everything about him irritated me. But I thought, the book will be different. I'll get the book and I'll work it out on my own. And I couldn't get through a page because it was just, the words were too big, too complicated. It just wasn't simple the way I like my words to be. For me, I know it's energy. And I don't like the words getting in the way. If they're too complicated, too big, then I realize they're not for me. They're for intellectuals. They're for people, who go to university and have degrees and understand big words. Not everything that we put out is for everyone. When you get that you're just here for who needs what you have, then everything becomes easier. Everything is just flow. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 people. It doesn't matter if it's one person that it's for. It's enough. And the funny thing is, what I've been observing more and more and more, the more I do, the more I create, it always comes down to me and my experience. Everything is a reflection of me. Everything. That moment when that lady made that comment about, you're getting it for free from Spirit, we should be getting it for free. Why are you charging us? It so annoys me when people do that, and it used to annoy me until I understood the purpose of it. Well, firstly, because this costs us money. Publishing books is not free. It costs me a lot of money. The platform that all the courses are on, the books are on, my website's on, that costs money. I don't get that for free. It costs money. It costs me money. And so when you exchange by buying a course, by buying a book, you're assisting me in continuing this beautiful work. That I can continue to have all of my courses on the platform. I can continue to produce books, create books, all of that. It allows the creation, the process to keep going. So there's that side of it, which until I started doing all of it, I didn't realize everything that goes into it. You just think, they just made the books or someone made it for them. Like Hay House might take over and create that all for you. But you still need to promote your own books. They don't sell themselves. There's still a process, and the advertising costs money. Everything costs money because that's how we exchange in this reality right now. That is the exchange at the moment for us to keep creating. We need this thing. Well, not need, but we use this thing called money to keep creating. And for you use this thing called money so that you'll commit once you sign up for the course because you've exchanged. Now I should do this course because I've committed by exchanging with this. It's so beautiful. Just the thought of inspiration being in here and the abundance. You are the abundance. And that it's all reflecting back to you. That beautiful lady with her comment was just reflecting where I was at the time. I used to have those thoughts all the time when people would try to sell me more courses. I'd already done a huge course and spent a whole lot of money with this person. And then they'd be selling, trying to sell me more of their courses. And I'd be like, dude, I'm done. I've done your course. I've given you a bunch of money. Stop trying to sell me more of your stuff. I've got what I needed from there. And from that particular course that I'm talking about now, that was one of the courses that I spent the most amount of money on, which at the time was a lot of money. And everyone was arguing with me that I didn't need that course. And just recently, one of my best friends was saying to me, as I was realizing, because they're things you would call a mistake, right? It was a mistake to do that course. I actually signed up because they were selling it as, oh, it's a business course for healers, right? For spiritual people. And I had zero business skills at the end of it. And I spent over $10,000 for this course. Granted, it was 18 months long. It wasn't something that I just did in 4 weeks and we're done. It was, although some people do spend that much for just a month or whatever. But it was 18 months long. I got to pay it off over the 18 months. It wasn't that bad in terms of, oh, I had to fork out all this money all at once. But to get to the end of it and not have any of the skills that were promised at the beginning of the course, I felt really ripped off. But what I learnt, and it only just showed up recently, what I learnt was that, again, like we did with the church, we go to them because they're the middleman for us to get to heaven, for us to be with Spirit, to be with God. They're the middleman. They're the ones with all the answers. I was doing that with this person. I had placed her above me, that she had all the answers, that she knew everything I needed for my path. I had given away my power to this being. That's what I learnt. It was more than $10,000 later. A lot more. But that was my lesson. That I have the power to create it however I want it to look. I have all the answers within me. I didn't need to spend all that money for something that I didn't get at the end. Which for me, the most important thing was the business skills. How to get all of this out there, how to reach people, because I'd already written the books. At that stage, I was already on the 3rd book. I was on Easy Mind, Easy Life, that beautiful green one up there, that one. I love that book. My daughter chose that cover. It's one of my favorites. But I was already writing. I was already on the path. And I was looking to them for help to come out the other end with nothing. Except they kept trying to sell more courses and more courses and more courses after that. You need to sign up for this next one. You need to sign up for this next one. And I was like, no, you know what? I am done. I am done. Because I don't operate that way. So I couldn't understand why it was that they keep trying to reel you in with the next thing and the next thing and make you dependent on them when I don't operate that way. With my piano students, my greatest joy, the greatest joy I experience is when they can come to me in a lesson and say, guess what? And I'll be like, what? And they're like, I just learned this song all by myself. Let me show you. And I'll be like, cool. Because I've given them all the skills, I've given them all the tools, and they now know how to do it for themselves. That for me is the greatest joy. That you get all the skills, you get all the tools, you get everything you need, and you can do it for yourself. That was one of the things that I loved the most about the latest course that I've done. That is for business skills. I'm learning everything now I need for business skills. But through the coaching course that we did, they've got all these gorgeous techniques. And one of my favorite techniques is called the Guru technique. And it does just that. As we do the 8 weeks together and we go through, you learn the Guru technique and it teaches you how to interpret things for yourself. For me, it was like the doorway to freedom. Up until that point, every time I did a Reiki session, I would go in and I would have all these images, all these symbols, all these words, and I'd finish the session, I'd write them down, And if it was for me, for example, I would look at them. But many times I can't see past the image or the word, or I just keep seeing that over and over and over. And I couldn't interpret it. I was really struggling to interpret, well, what does that mean for me? And so I would send it off to my beautiful friend in New Zealand who's a psychic, who's a medium. And she would come back with all these beautiful interpretations. And 99% of the time, it would totally resonate. But I could feel resistance within her that she didn't want to do that. And I didn't understand it until I did the guru technique and I realized, oh, I get it. I totally get it. Because you're interpreting for someone else and it may not have the meaning for them. I know she can see, like there's more to her than, But now with this beautiful technique, I can sit with each symbol, I can sit with each image that I get, and I can interpret it for myself. And it is 100% spot on for me. That I'm excited at the moment to offer Reiki with the guru technique all in one. That we can go through the Reiki, I can get all that information that I always get when I'm sitting in a Reiki session, and then sit together with the person at the end of it to do the guru technique so they can interpret, okay, there's this symbol in this chakra, or there's this image in this chakra. Let's find the meaning. What does it mean? So then you can heal from that. You can decide what healing is required. Because for me, I know Reiki is taught as a healing modality that you go in to do healing. But from the moment that I learnt Reiki, I was shown a very different way with my spirit guides. And yes, it can be a healing modality, but it's up to you. Because for me, when I'm in there, I'm given all these messages, all these images, symbols for each chakra as we go through. And then, write it down and then try and interpret it. And originally my thoughts were, I could do the Reiki session and my friend in New Zealand could do the interpretation and send that off as a recording to the person. But now, through this latest beautiful coaching course that I've done, I don't need to. I have the tool. I have the technique for it. That person can interpret for themselves. Oh, okay, there's the lotus flower in my third eye. Let's interpret that together. So I guide them through the technique. They find their own meaning and they walk away with, okay, where they're at in this moment in their life. Because we're not always in the same place. Every time I go into a Reiki session, it changes, it's different because we are ever changing, always evolving, as humans in our human experience. So I'm very excited for what's to come, what can be offered, the possibilities. It feels like there's infinite possibilities of how to use all these beautiful tools and techniques I've been learning over the past 6 months, Because before, for me, last year, if I was to offer the coaching, my coaching was for the forgiveness course, the sacred healing journey, loving your anger, loving your fear, learning to understand all those messages that they're trying to bring through, because that was my journey. But now, through this beautiful course that I've done in December, it's not about my journey anymore. It's meeting people where they're at and where they want to go, and then having all the tools and techniques to guide them there. It's walking the path side by side. Oh, there was this gorgeous analogy. I'm going to share it in the next one of how the coaching works now. It's really, really beautiful. We love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And I can't wait to share this beautiful story with you because it's gorgeous. I loved it the first time I heard it. Bye for now, guys.